Village hustle, that is a term that you hear thrown around on this podcast a lot. Today, I am going to lay out what that means. I am going to lay out my Village Hustle manifesto. Yes, manifestos on this episode. Going Unabomber on the episode. Without the bombs, just more like the manifestos. I'm sitting up, I'm enclosing myself in a secluded room and writing manifestos about the way society needs to be. Here is my Village Hustle manifesto. For me, a culture that captures that Village Hustle essence is this. It's a culture that understands that there is nothing incompatible about being ambitious, even being very ambitious, and having a great family life, especially in this modern age when we have so many opportunities to make money, have a side hustle, use our gifts and talents in different ways. And when we have all these conveniences to help us cut down time on certain domestic tasks, there is no reason that women especially can't have absolutely thriving hobbies and careers and things like that, and amazing family lives as well. I do think this is a little bit of a new paradigm. I'm not sure this was possible in the year 1000 AD when it was like, well, half my family died of the plague, and now we all have typhoid, and another plague is coming. Man, when you read about other times in history, it was like, well, yeah, nobody was girl bossing. They were all just trying not to die all the time. And so I think that our current society is still stuck in some outdated modes of thinking. Yeah, it's true. Your great-great-grandmother really couldn't use her blue flame all the time necessarily. She was chopping heads off of chickens and cooking them up for dinner, and had to, kids were out shooting squirrels. She'd cook them up for dinner because they were all about to starve to death. I mean, yeah, nobody was living their best lives, okay? But it's not 1840 anymore. We need to step in to the time that we have been sent into. And in this day and age, there is 100% a place for having really cool opportunities to use your talents and having a really thriving family life. Now, what we all fear is that we get a little too ambitious with our goals. Some of us with kind of an ambitious streak. No, it's possible. It's possible. We could take it too far. You see the movies about people living in New York City who work 100 hours a week and they're completely isolated from everyone, and all they do is work and make tons and tons of money and then go get wasted in the short amount of free time they ever have. Some of us see that and we're like, mood. I've got it in me. I could do it. I could live that life. I don't want to, but I know that temperament. I have that temperament. And so we all worry about that. Certainly there is a way to be too ambitious, to sell out your family, and to be one of those people on your deathbed who's like, I wish I had known my kids' names. That would have been nice. Would have been great to know them. So how do you win and live an incredible life where you are using your talents to the nth degree? You wake up every day saying, man, I'm crushing it. I just am. I'm adding something really cool to the world, whether that's making money with it or just doing it for fun or whatever. This feels great. I feel like my highest and best use is really going out there to the world, and my family life is super cool too. Like, I don't just love my kids. I like my kids. We're having a good time. We're having a great life. This is all possible, but you have to combine two key things that most people don't combine. There's a secret here, and that is the main topic of this episode, and I will get to that in the second half of the show. We always get to the main topic in the second half of the show. And speaking of Village Hustle, we are on this topic today because, applause, today we are launching the Village Hustle Patreon level. It is a brand new level of Patreon. It is a higher level than the current level. So the current level still exists. At the basic Patreon level, you get the after party. After each show, we keep the cameras rolling, we keep the mics rolling, and I chat a little bit more behind the scenes, sometimes a little bit more private info. That's the main Patreon level. So when you go up a level to the Village Hustle level, you still get all the stuff that you had in that level. You still get the after party and all that. But now I am going to do 3 or 4 times a month. I will do get ready with me videos where I am either doing my makeup, picking out wardrobe, cooking dinner, whatever. And while I am doing this thing, I will tell you my Village Hustle secrets. I will tell you what problems I have going on in my business, going into detail, how I think about this, how I solve them. I will share all the insights from the many business books I've read. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that for whatever reason, I have read enough books that I am ready to be a Fortune 100 CEO. If the CEO of Procter & Gamble gets sick and needs someone to take over, honestly, guys, I think I could step in for a couple months. I've read all the books. I know how we need to structure our meetings, and I'm going to have a morning huddle with my team, and I know the importance of delegation, but also having authority. I've read all the books, guys. So if you have any kind of goal that you're trying to meet, especially if you have a business or a side hustle, you're trying to do a little better with that, or if you're just trying to get to your life together, you've been in survival mode for too long, you're trying to get out, you're trying to set some goals and there's a phrase, unscrew up your life. That is the kind of thing I will talk about. And I'm very excited to do it in that get ready with me format, because my ADHD brain can actually focus better on what someone is saying if they are doing something while they are talking to me. I've noticed on TikTok, sometimes people will explain a concept while they're doing their makeup. Oddly enough, I absorb that better. I absorb whatever concept they're talking about better if they themselves are multitasking and doing something else. So you will get the behind the scenes, how I set goals, how I reach them, how I solve my business problems, how I just girl boss all over the place, and all the summaries of all of these books I've read. Again, while I'm also showing you how I'm either doing my makeup or how I get dressed. I mean, it's not like get dressed, like, you know, this is not OnlyFans, yeah, but that'll be a different, that'll be the $500 level. You know, I'm not above it. Listen, I'm making no money on YouTube. I make no money on this podcast. 6 more months of no money from this podcast, and we're introducing that level. It's the get ready with me. Just only starting from the skivvies, you know. Here I am in my underwear. And here's some business insights.
Can we start with the feet?
Right, yeah. No, Caitlin, that's the $700 level. Right. And it's just feet. Listen, if you recently recommended this podcast to a friend, I know you're regretting it now. Just that, I'm sorry. Whoever recommended this podcast to you, they didn't know. They're sorry, and they'll never speak of this again. Yeah, hopefully your friendship can recover. So the Village Hustle Patreon level, it is available starting right now. Right now, the link is in the show notes. Go check the show notes of this podcast episode, or go to patreon.com/thisisjen. That is Jen with 1 N. This is Jen. Patreon.com/thisisjen. You will see the Village Hustle level right there. And we already have content up. Of course. There is already a Get Ready With Me episode. I'm doing my makeup in a little bit more of a basic way, basic for me. And I'm talking about something that I resolved, like a challenge I had that I resolved that is already up. And I am having so much fun creating these. Caitlin, I don't think I even told you this. I've already done the one for the next week because I was just having so much fun as I was getting ready for my Chicago show. I was talking about image and how you put yourself out there. And even if you're not a performer, really in anything you do in life, some kind of thinking about image and how you present yourself matters. So I got very over analytical about what I should wear to my Chicago show. And I brought you guys in, not only standing in my closet here in Austin, Texas, but then at my hotel when I was panicked and I was flipping out and I was so mad about my outfit. And then in the green room when I had my social media gal was there and she was helping me figure out what to do. So that will actually be the next week. That content is already together. I am super excited about it. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And that is the Village Hustle level, a little bit higher level than what we are currently offering. And again, when you're at that level, you still get all the stuff, the backstage, the after party from the lower level. Now, Here, look what we're going to do, guys.
These are so much fun.
The first 50 people who sign up for the Village Hustle level get this little, you'd only know if you're watching YouTube. So only 5 people know about this. For those of you who have looked up this channel on YouTube, I made these little purple kind of rubber wristbands. They can survive anything, no matter how crazy your life is. They will survive this. They say Village Hustle on them. The first 50 people will get a wristband personally mailed out by me and Caitlin. You know what, Caitlin?
She's going to wear each one as well.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I'll wear each one. And I think I'll do a little card that says, you got this, or something encouraging. Or depending on my mood, it might be just give up. I don't care anymore. I don't know. But I'll handwrite a card. So first 50 people to sign up. We will think about how we get your address, but first 50 people to sign up will get these Village Hustle wristbands, and this will be a little reminder to you as you go through your life that you're not alone. I am with you. I believe that you've got this, and there are a lot of other people as well who are trying to do the same crazy thing that you do. So first 50 people to sign up for the Village Hustle level on Patreon will have Caitlin and myself personally mailing them the Village Hustle wristband. So sign up, patreon.com/thisisjen. Jen with one N. And then so many announcements here. We also just last week announced the tour. Shows that are coming up right around the corner are Little Rock, New York, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, a whole bunch of other cities. And you can find those also in the show notes, jfcomedytour.com.
No, this is coming. This is great.
You guys aren't prepared. You're not even prepared for what I've done. I decided that I wanted a 1980s style, way overly peppy, ridiculous jingle to help you guys remember the website for my stand-up comedy tour. I mean, it's maybe the best girl boss thing I've ever done in my life was created this jingle. Listen to this. We are unveiling my fall tour jingle. It's the best thing you've ever heard.
It's literally the most amazing thing.
Turn it up. This is the best thing you've ever heard. Let's take a listen to my fall tour jingle. Oh, and if my Bluetooth were connected, my Bluetooth was connected. This is why I have no YouTube viewers. They're like, this is the crappiest podcast on YouTube. Literally, why would we ever watch it?
There's at least one worse.
Like what? Name one.
I don't.
Well, yeah, let's start a beef. That's good. No. Okay, so you guys don't get to hear it. It won't connect, Caitlin. Oh, no. What is my life? What is my actual? Is your phone connected to it?
No.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'll hold it up to the microphone because we improvise when things don't go. I'm just going to hold it up to the mic. One day I'll be able to play sound effects through my phone. It will be very exciting. Okay, take a listen.
Fulwiler is hitting the road on the maternal instinct tour, so watch where she goes. Just go to jfcomedytour.com. jfcomedytour.com.
Incredible, right? Incredible. Let's listen to that one more time. I know I'm just holding it up to the mic. One day we'll actually get the technology set up over here. Again, for you guys watching on YouTube, this studio, it has been under construction for a while. We've got another week of the construction. Things are a little rough over here. They're a little rough. But listen to this jingle. I'm just so excited about it. It is. And again, I just had this guy make it. It's incredible. Amazing. And just wait till you hear it when we have the sound system working. That will be, whoa.
When it's rattling.
That'll be Boy, that'll be a new level of class for this podcast. All right. So we haven't even officially welcomed you to the show. Welcome to the Jen Fulwiler Show. We are coming to you from Austin, Texas. I am your host, Jen Fulwiler. I am a stand-up comic, best-selling author, and mom of 6. I had 6 babies in 8 years. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundation for all real success. Caitlin is our producer extraordinaire, and we publish new episodes every Wednesday morning. And we have that brand new Patreon level, the Village Hustle Patreon level. The link is in the show notes, and you can check it out at patreon.com/thisisjen. You know, part of the reason that I'm dropping my phone, can't connect it to the soundboard, and all of this is, let me bring you into what's been going on over here. I wouldn't want you guys for even a minute to think that Caitlin and I are not living this with you. The village hustle, emphasis on hustle, lifestyle. Actually, Caitlin, you know what? You get a wristband. Ooh. You get here we go. I'm going to give Caitlin one of our village hustle wristbands. Now, if 50 people, sign up right away, that you might have to give it back. I think I only ordered 50. So someone's getting the ones that Caitlin and I are wearing. So Caitlin and I've talked a lot about how when you follow your passions as a parent, not only is it not bad for your family, it can actively be a good thing. We get in this mindset where we say, we start thinking, best case scenario, my kids are only on 4 hard drugs after I complete my goals and find my success. It's crack, yes. Heroin, yes, but they never got into meth, and that's the best.
For that, I'm thankful.
Yeah, we give thanks. But you guys are not dreaming big enough. You're not understanding just how expansive love is when you put it into the world in any form. And when you're using a talent or building a career, that can be a way to share love with the world. Let's say you're an attorney. I mean, no one thinks, that's how we share love with the world. But really, if you are, let's say you're even like a tax law attorney, okay? I mean, that's not Mother Teresa. But if you're like, you know what? I'm good at this. I'm really good at this. And I'm honest. There are plenty of people out there that might not be so honest. And I charge what I'm worth, but I don't rip people off. I don't overbill. I'm a straight shooter with my clients. I'm pleasant with them. Honestly, you really are adding love to the world. I know the attorney world. I mean, these people who deal with big tax attorney type people, they are used to very cold, sterile interactions. And if they were to encounter someone in the middle of some corporate merger or whatever, who takes them aside and says, "Hey, how you doing? Really, you seem a little tired. Is everything okay?" Now, if I did that, it would end up like it totally insults them. They're like, "I thought I was looking amazing," and then now they're depressed because I said that. I can't do that, but the rest of you guys can share love that way. Look, whatever you do, when you feel that warmth, that passion, and you say, This feels right. This feels good. And I don't think I'm clinging to this for totally wrong reasons. This feels good. I just have that warmth when I think about pursuing this. That's love. And love always expands, and love always multiplies. Love is not a zero-sum game. Love multiplies, and it expands. The most obvious example to help you understand this is, so a lot of times people who aren't that familiar with families, when they have one kid, they'll say, well, I worry about a second kid because that would divide my love. It might divide my love to have more kids. Caitlin and I can say authoritatively, we have 10 kids between us. No, more love is more love. Mm-hmm. Every baby you have just adds love to the family. It expands exponentially. Love never divides. It always expands. And it's the same thing when you're adding genuine love to the world through your passion. It could be something as dumb as stand-up comedy or as unexpected as being a corporate attorney. When that's what's in your heart is love, even if you have some mixed motives, like, okay, look, I want the bullies from junior high to like wish they hadn't treated me. Yes, we all have mixed motives, but if there's some love there and that is your driving force, Not only is it not going to be bad for your kids, it will actively be a good thing. So that brings me to my husband has gotten really into sailing. There is a self-indulgent way to go sailing. You could make it all about you. You could abandon your family. There is a self-indulgent way to do that. My husband has done it in a very love-based way. He brings the kids into it constantly. He always is trying to get the family to go out, and we rent a boat and we go out and we go sailing. And then even our friends, we get them into that. And so one of Caitlin's kids has discovered an interest in sailing as well. One of my kids has gotten into it. And so they're at the ocean right now. They're doing some sailing. But we had to get them there was the issue. And we are recording this on a Tuesday night. This is an evening recording. We're recording this less than 12 hours before it goes live. So very fresh podcast for you guys here. So this is a Tuesday evening. Sunday night, I had my big Chicago show. It was incredible. It was sold out. Man, I couldn't have asked for a better show. That show was extraordinary. It won for the ages. It was so good. Thank you, Chicago. You never disappoint. So that was Sunday night. I'm in Chicago. I perform, get back to the hotel late, wake up Monday morning, get on a plane to Austin. It always takes longer than you think. So I get back to Austin, drive an hour from the airport to my house, and I get there, and then I realize Caitlin has all this craziness going on in her life. She's moving. She's got a lot going on. And I realized that Caitlin was supposed to drop her son down in Houston at the ocean, because that's where the sailing happens. And just as I was falling asleep from my nap, I'm thinking, I'm going to be chilling. I'm going to take a nap. I just thought, Caitlin can't do this. She'll die. She'll literally die. I know how hard she's been working. So I just gotten off a plane. I'm just closing my eyes for a nap. And I was like, I got to go to Houston right now. So I call Caitlin and I was like, why don't I do the drive down there tonight? And then Caitlin pointed out there's a pickup that has to happen. And she said she could do that. I realized, actually, that would be a lot better for me, because I didn't want to do that the second one. Long story short, women helping women. It always works out. But so last night, because Caitlin's life is absolute craziness with what she has going on, she shows up at 9:30 with the kids that need to be dropped in Houston. Then I told any of my kids, I said, "Who wants road trip? All right, we're going to Houston." They're like, "Didn't you just get back from Chicago?" I'm like, "I know, but now we're going to Houston." And so one of my kids, she ropes in a friend of hers, and I'm like, "How do you do this on such short notice?" This is my fifth child, the one who almost killed me when she was a toddler. She's the one I've told you, like, when she sets her mind to something, you don't understand. Like, it's done.
She's getting it.
It's done. So at 9:00 p.m., I'm like, "Who wants to go to Houston?" They're like, "When?" I'm like, "Now." And everyone's kind of trying to wrap their minds around this. She picks up the phone and calls her friend's dad, because her friend doesn't have a phone. So my 12-year-old daughter gets on the horn with her friend's dad. She's like, "Hey, listen, we're going to Houston. It's kind of a long story. I don't have time to explain it. Can she come with us?"
We're kidnapping her.
And and then this guy, because he's dealt with my daughter, he's like, "There's no point in arguing. I mean, it's going to happen." So anyway, her friend ends up coming with us. So I didn't actually get out the door till like 10:30. It is a 3.5 hour drive. So I drive 3.5 hours. This is last night. Starting at 10:30, we get to the sailing place. I'm so tired, but I have to get the kids all settled down because they're super wired from the trip. So I get the kids settled down. And then I wake up, I drive 3.5 hours back today, and then we sit down and record this podcast. And then Caitlin has this 3.5 hour turnaround. And again, I say this to let you know, we are living this crazy village hustle lifestyle. And part of what adds to the energy is we are supporting our children and following their own passions. Yes, Caitlin and I are building our careers. We're doing the fun stuff. We're producing this podcast. We're getting this garbage studio together. We are following our blue flames, our talents. But then, of course, we are also helping our children too. And here's the thing. When you crack open this area of life for your family and you say, man, I'm going for it. I've got a talent, or maybe in your case, you're not even sure which one specific talent you have, but you say, I'm good at some stuff and I'm going to start taking massive action. I'm trying things. You have now set a policy in your family where everyone has permission to go for it, to freaking go for it. And you started that. When I first jumped into this stand-up comedy thing, yes, I had my family's support. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't. But I mean, my passion helped get them on board. It was it was like, I'm going for it. I'm doing it. I cannot be stopped. Just because I've never once performed stand-up comedy in my life, and I don't have any connections in this industry, and I don't live in LA or New York, and I don't have one contact in this area of life, doesn't mean that I can't take over this industry just because I have 6 young children, also that I need to take care of. There's no reason why I can't roll over everyone in this space.
Here you are.
Here we are. So, I mean, who doesn't want to get behind that? Not because you think it'll work, but because it'll just be so fun to watch them fail. I mean, who's that delusional? That's crazy. And honestly, the more ambitious and delusional you are, the more you set your family up for success, because they're like, I was just going to go out for the softball team. I mean, I think maybe I'll definitely do that, because she is going to fail on such a massive level that it makes my failure seem so small in comparison. When you go for it, the more you go for it, the more you give your family permission to go for it in their lives as well. And ever since I found this thing and jumped into it, this was years ago now, what's interesting is then Joe started watching me and he said, man, I want what you have. That's cool. My husband started saying, like, man, can you help me find that thing too? And we tried some different options, because he's one of those people, like a lot of you guys, he doesn't have that one thing that is an insane obsession for him like I do. He's good at a lot of things, likes a lot of different things. We talked about, should he write a book? Should he start a podcast? And we batted around different ideas, and it took years. It took years of trial and error, but he ended on sailing, and now that is this massive passion of his, and he loves it. I told you, he just got a great deal on a boat. I emphasize the great deal because it's sounding very rich over here. Very rich. It was
a great deal.
Yacht clubs, boats. Again, my camera equipment cost more than this boat. So now he has a boat and he's thrilled. But it was really watching me that made him say, huh, I think I'd like to do that too. And then our kids started watching this, and then they got into the sailing with Joe in some cases, or in some of them are into writing, and they've each discovered their own passions. And so then we all make what society would call sacrifices to support one another in our passions. Obviously, I have, in our society's limited way of thinking about it, I have quote unquote less time to work on my comedy and write comedy and tour and whatever, because I'm supporting Joe in his sailing. There's actually a key time in October, which would be a major time for comedy tours. And I'm not touring for like 10 days during prime October time, because he has a sailing thing he wants to do. And then take this trip, for example. So that's 3.5 hours each way. So that's 7 hours of driving that I could have been working during that time, but I'm supporting our kids in their love of sailing. Now, society says that this is a quote unquote sacrifice. I could be more of a girl boss if I wasn't burdened by kids and their stupid dreams. I'd already have a Netflix special. This actually brings us into the main topic. This is where I think society gets it wrong. I don't think any of it is a sacrifice. I think that the maneuvering that you need to do to use your talents, to build your career in a village hustle way, in a way that is bringing you deeper into your family or community rather than isolating you from them, I think it makes for a better career. I think it makes actually for a more long-lasting career because it is rooted in love and community and mutual support. There's this idea out there that, man, these men, single men and all these guys, they've got the better deal because they can just work all the time. They can just work 24/7 and they don't have to take care of their families. Either their wives are doing it or they don't have families. And obviously I talk about that all the time. And my perspective is like, just be careful taking advice from those people because they know nothing about your reality, like literally nothing. Yeah. But I am always careful to say I'm not jealous of them. I do not believe they have a better deal. In the short term, they will probably get ahead of you. The comedians that I know that they don't have families, they're single, certainly in the short term, they are making a lot of progress, probably a little bit more progress than I could make with my village hustle lifestyle. But I do believe that you have much more longevity in whatever work you do. Certainly all of us know workaholic people who lived their whole lives for their careers. It was just all they did. They just worked all the time. Maybe they had families they ignored, or maybe they didn't have families at all as an intentional choice to just work 24/7. They lose their souls, guys. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but with Joe's background, he came from that world. He came from the world where all that matters is success and being rich and that sort of thing. So we know some people who really made it to the top. They did. I mean, they make, I don't know, probably $2 million a year. Easy. Wow. I mean, easy. Honestly, that's actually not a joke. That's low. I mean, I think some of the people that we are acquaintances with, like when we go to New York and it's a group of people and it's like, oh, I haven't seen you. I'm not talking about our close friends are like this in terms of the workaholism, but we've had drinks recently with people that they'd honestly kind of laugh if I said, oh, I bet you make $2 million a year. Cause they'd be like, Jen, like, come on, like, am I poor? Like, please. I mean, really, that is they're going for a 9-figure net worth. And I think they have it. And they chose not to have, they don't date, they don't have families. They made that choice. And you really do like it seems, in a secular, godless way, it can seem kind of glamorous when you're 27, 28, even 37, 38. You're just a workaholic and all you do is work. And maybe one time a year for 3 days, you can get away on your $18 million yacht. But as time goes on and they're watching other people who didn't work as hard and don't have as much money go to their kids' soccer games and drop their kids off at college, and they send out the Christmas cards with the family and, oh, we all went skiing and whatever, they realize they made a mistake, whether they admit it or not. And you really start to see them physically wither. It's not good. It's not good. And then, ironically, their careers suffer because living your whole life for money and for soulless pursuits that are driven by building up your ego and your finances, which are not love-based things, to just flatter yourself and have more money. There's no love in that. It can be fun, honestly. I mean, it can be, I'm not saying that I have zero motivation of making money and flattering my ego. I'm not saying it's not there at all. But if that is your 99.9% driving force, you even physically wither after a couple of decades of that. So the mainstream idea is that if you could just be a single woman or a single guy who actively chooses to jettison love and community from your life so that you can work 24/7, man, you just get the advantage over those moms who have to leave the workforce or work less or take some time off because they had a baby. Oh man, that's how it's always phrased. Moms make less money overall because they have to do that and they have to take time off, and that sucks. And we've got to we've got to be good machines and figure out ways to get moms back in the workforce while the baby's head is crowning. You know what? We've got to find a way to support these women, you know, while they're pushing, they're in the boardroom, because we don't want them to miss 2 days of work, because then they might make less money. That's such a stupid paradigm that women are getting the short end of the stick, because we do tend, if family ends up being the right path for you and you have kids, we do tend to put more time into that and less time into work. And our dumb society has a paradigm that we're losing out, that sucks for us. Here's what I have found. I think that it actually builds a better career. It actually makes your hobby or whatever goal you are pursuing stronger. All these quote unquote sacrifices that you make to have a thriving family life. Let me give you an example. So I've got some stuff heating up with my career. It is very exciting. I have some good opportunities with what I'm going to do with my next comedy special. I'm excited about it. I have good material. I've worked so hard on it. No one has earned it like I have earned it. The feedback I have taken has been soul crushing and made me want to cry. I've earned it. And so I'm proud of this hour. I think my next special is going to be really solid. So we have some good possibilities that we're talking about for what to do there, but I have a lot of work to do. There's hours upon hours upon hours of work. And so dumb secular mindset says that 7 hours that I took to drive kids so that they can go sailing on the ocean that's a sacrifice. I made a sacrifice. It's sad. It's sad that Jen had to hit pause on the girl bossing, but she's a mom. And that's what moms have to do. And to that I say, you're an idiot, and watch me win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win bigger because of those quote unquote sacrifices. We need a different term. It's not sacrifice. It is I found the term. I was trying to, hit that. I found the term button. That's our special. I came up with just the right word sound effect. It's a reshuffling. It's a reshuffling. Mm-hmm. And doesn't it feel that way for those of you who have families? Let's say you're trying to write your novel and you were really excited. You were just about to finish it. And then your whole house gets the freaking stomach flu. So now you are 2 weeks behind and you are never getting that smell out of the couch. You just got to call it a loss. Get a fire hose of Lysol and it still won't work. Like, it's done. The couch guys call it a loss. Like, it's done. They're just burn it. Well, you guys know at my living room couch, Salvation Army wouldn't take it. That's how bad it got. I had Salvation Army pick it up. The guy halfway down the driveway, he's like, "Ma'am, come on, we have standards," and he walked away. Like, so I'm not like, that's not even a joke. So that's not a sacrifice. You didn't have to sacrifice your career for your family. That's a reshuffling. Think of it that way. Now, here's a practical example. So the ice bath guys, the podcast bros, would say, very sad for Jen. Now she can't win because she had to drive for 7 hours. And then when you also just factor in the packing and just I had to take a nap because I was tired from the drive, let's say 10 hours. So I lost 10 hours of quote unquote productive time this week going to Houston and back to support my kids' passion for sailing. However, I needed something to do on the drive. And I thought, you know what, I'd like to do something to further the stuff that I'm doing. And no, I can't sit in my office like I might normally do and do this accounting stuff and send that strongly worded email from that one situation that has not paid me and that sort of thing. So I can't do that while I'm driving. But what I can do is I can do something that would further the stuff that I'm doing in a different way. So I pulled up a few famous comedy specials that I really admire. They're very, very, very well done. And then I had my iPad out with the voice memo thing on it. And I hit play, I let it run. And then my phone was playing just the audio of these comedy specials. So not being distracted, don't have to look at anything. I had the audio of the comedy specials going. And then just on my private little voice memo thing, I would make verbal commentary. I would say, it's interesting that the reason that joke worked is because you didn't expect her to draw out that analogy. You thought she was done with the analogy, and then that was super funny that she drew it out. So now you can do stuff like there are services that will auto transcribe audio files. So I can send that into this little Rev service. It's called Rev, and they can do it through AI, and it's really cheap. So for $10, I can have all of my audio notes transcribed into text, and then I can look at that file. And honestly, guys, I learned more about comedy in that drive back from Houston a few hours ago than I probably did in the past 6 months. I really feel like I got some great insights about, I just started to notice, because what I did was I took a really good part of this one comedy special. I took 10 minutes and I listened to that same 10 minutes over and over and over again. I didn't listen to the whole thing. It was just the same 10 minutes so that I would start to notice patterns in what the person was doing. By the way, this is why my friends have nicknamed me Rain Man. This is the kind of thing that leads to that nickname. So I just listened to the same 10 minutes on repeat. And I got all of these insights where I realized, this one subject right here could be a little boring. These are just kind of general statements about life that really aren't that exciting. But man, she makes it really interesting with wild analogies, with unexpected, blah, blah, blah. And it really cracks something open for me that there were a couple of subjects for my next hour after this one that I wanted to bring up. I think it's really relatable. I think you guys would find it fun and interesting. But I just thought, how am I going to just make this funny? How do you make this not just a boring topic? And I had all these new ideas from studying, just listening to that same 10 minutes on repeat and noticing, obviously this person has a totally different life than mine. My jokes would be totally different. They don't do clean comedy, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed the patterns, like, wow, that one analogy. Yeah. Okay. An analogy can really spice things up if you're getting to a kind of a dry part of the set. The point is, I'm not trying to give you guys a lesson on comedy here. The point is that it's not a sacrifice. It wasn't a sacrifice at all. That time that I used, it was a reshuffling where I got to approach my talents in a different way. Again, if let's say you're a tax attorney, there's not the same kind of career. It's much more corporate. Well, let's say you have to arrange your schedule a little differently. You don't have the exact same schedule as some of the partners at your firm, and you end up doing things like this, and you have flex time and things like that. I guarantee you will end up with new insights. Maybe you listen to an audiobook on tax law. That would be exciting. That'd be fun. But maybe you use that time to listen to an audiobook. Or maybe when you drive down to Houston to drop your kids at the sailing thing, you think of someone a great business contact, a potential client for your firm, and you say, I'll just have lunch with that person. While I'm down there, while I'm dropping the kids at sailing, I'll have lunch with that person. And you end up landing an enormous new client at your law firm, and you make partner, and now your salary just tripled because you took your kids down there and had lunch with that person. It's not a sacrifice. It is a reshuffling. The things that you do to make your family life work with your career, with your hobby, is not a sacrifice. It is a reshuffling. I don't think in terms of, I had to sacrifice for my family, or I had to sacrifice family life for my career. No, it's all like a recipe. You're just throwing stuff together. You add a little more here, a little, and yeah, sometimes things set on fire. I mean, that happens too. And you put out the fire and you figure it out. But it is not a sacrifice. It is a reshuffling. And so I said that I would tell you there are two things that you need to combine in order to make this village hustle lifestyle work. I do want to say that on the regular Patreon, the village hustle level will get access to this too, but just if you don't do village hustle level, on the regular Patreon, we always do the after party. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that crazy Houston trip and what I've learned about finding your tempo of life, we've talked about this before, that some people love a hectic, chaotic life, but it's not for everyone. Yeah, Caitlin and I, we have that in common. But some people, it's probably even exhausting for you to hear about my life. So how do you find that? Sometimes it's exhausting for us, honestly. Like I hear about Caitlin's life and I'm like, I need a nap just hearing about what you did before noon today. And I'm sure she feels the same way about me. Now, but if you're the total opposite, I mean, how do you find that right pace? What does that look like? That is what we will talk about at the after party. Patreon.com/thisisjen. We now have 2 levels, the basic level and the Village Hustle level. The basic level is where you get just the after party content, and that is great too. Link in the show notes, patreon.com/thisisjen. Okay, so there are 2 things that you need to combine in order to make this Village Hustle concept work. One, you see more in the atheistic, secular ice bath world. The other is more from the Catholic ghetto. You guys know I'm Catholic, but I come from the Catholic ghetto. It's like there, some of us probably needed some mental health help there, to be honest. But you can combine 2 really beautiful things to have a very powerful family life where everyone feels fulfilled and like they're using their talents to the best possible potential, including you. The first thing is, and this comes from the secular ice bath set, is unapologetically admitting what you want to do and not dreaming too small. Dream big. Dream bigger. And so again, that comes more from like, you can find these 24-year-olds who are writing books about how you need to be living your life and getting up at 5 a.m. And they're like, it's not that hard, guys. I can do it. I'm 24 and I get up at 5 a.m. And so you should do it too. And they'll tell you to dream big. And that is one thing that they are right about. And you, my dear podcast listener, are probably afraid to dream big because you don't want to have a big ego. You don't want to make it all about you. You don't want to be prideful. You don't want to be greedy and all that kind of thing. So let me give you some words of comfort. Inspirational music, Caitlin. Listen. I want to assure you that by dreaming big, taking that thing that is inside you, that talent you would love to use, let your mind wander. And what do you really want here? How big do you really want to go with it? And if you worry that by going for this, you might be being greedy because you wish you were a millionaire best-selling author or partner at your law firm, and you worry about the fame and the acclaim, and that's getting into prideful territory, just the fame that I would have, and people talking about how incredible I am and wanting selfies and my picture looking hot in the media. I am here to assure you none of that's going to happen, probably. And if it does, it will be 10,000 times harder than you think it will be. And I think you can do it. Honestly, I think you can do it. But in order to get there, you will fall on your face so many times that you will have not a shred of pride left in you by the time it's done. It will be the most humbling thing that you've ever done. You will fail so many times that the people who know you will kind of like think of you as a failure by the time you get to success, because the people who know the inside story will be like, she got rejected so many times. She fell on her face so many times. She went out there and did something cringe that was like cringe to the cringiest cringe so many times that, maybe she's like a rich and famous best-selling author now, but like we still think of her as the person who made that one TikTok about her first book that sold 4 copies. It was so embarrassing. We had to pretend not to know her. That's how it's actually going to go. So don't you worry about your dreams being too flattering to your ego. Like, no. You will have no ego left by the end of it. I believe you can do it. I believe that you can achieve all of your goals and more. But when you do, you will be like a soldier returning from war. You will be grizzled. You will struggle not being bitter and hating everyone. You'll be like, I had to kill a few people along the way. Did lots of things I'm not proud of. But you'll be very humble. Very humble at the end of it. So dreaming big, ironically, dreaming big is actually a very humbling thing to do. And it opens the door for your family, for your friends, for the people who know you. It opens the door for them to dream big too. When they see you going after something just crazy, like it's crazy, like people don't go for that. That's crazy. That's insane. Then they think of their own goals and they think, well, maybe I'll aim a little higher too. Maybe maybe your teen kid will be like, okay, maybe I'll ask that girl out. Actually, if mom can do this crazy thing, maybe I'll do it. The bigger you dream and the more unapologetic you are about it, the more you will find it. There's just no ego in it. There's almost an innocence of saying, man, God's crazy. God is crazy that he would have me go for this, but it feels right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not the voice of God. Maybe it's my intrusive thoughts. I could even be wrong here, but I think this is the right path for me. I seem to be kind of called to it. Doors keep opening, and it was crazy of God to call me to this, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it, and you will just look so insane to the people around you that you will inspire them. But again, there will be almost an egoless innocence to it. And don't you worry, God will send you so many opportunities for humility. I just want to emphasize how little pride you will have at the end of it. So that is component number one. If you want to let go of all the kind of bad, the pride, the ego, the vanity, dream bigger. That's actually the answer for it. Dream bigger. That's component one, and that's the one that comes from the ice bath world. Now here's component two, where the Catholic ghetto gets it right. And so in those of you, we have a lot of new listeners, not on YouTube, but on other platforms. We have a lot of new listeners, and a lot of people now, not Catholic, don't have that background. And that's fine. You're welcome. You can be Catholic. You can be wrong. Like whatever. I'm kidding. Caitlin's not Catholic. So this is an open-minded podcast. And see, now Caitlin can't convert because that would be bad for the podcast brand. So she could come to me and say, listen, the Lord has told me to join the One True Church. And I'll be like, you can't stay, because I need to show people that this podcast is open to everyone. Here's what the Catholic ghetto, and you know what? I think all people of faith. I mean, I bet the Unitarians have this one too. I don't know how you atheists do it in terms of going after big dreams and goals, because I'm telling you, it just doesn't really work without the trust component. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work without the trust component. You need to understand that this isn't up to you. The results are not up to you. And that is really at the core of the village hustle mentality, is when you have time to work, when the kids are down for a nap, when everyone is safely at sailing camp and you've recorded your podcast and you can finally get some work done. When you have those moments, you work harder than anyone. You strive to be the best. It's that, I'm swinging for the rafters. I'm here to make a splash. I will be the best of the best. I mean, you work harder than anyone when it's time to work. But you do not have a results at all costs mentality. And that is where we depart from the secular wisdom. The secular wisdom would say, again, let's say something with my career. If I want a certain thing to happen with my next comedy special, it's you do it at all costs, at all costs. It's like, well, no, I'm not, because every day is an exercise in that reshuffling. Every day we rebalance. I see how much time I have vis-a-vis my family's needs. Sometimes I have less, sometimes I have more. And again, I'm very unapologetic about making time for what I need to do. If I'm like, hey guys, I have a show tomorrow, so it is frozen pizza tonight. I don't want to hear any complaints about it. I got stuff to do. So everybody relax. You're doing frozen pizza. I'll make something better when I get back. So sometimes my needs need to take a priority. I've got stuff to do, and I'm certainly not going to apologize for that. But then other times there are other needs that take priority, and then I need to set my stuff aside for a second. Every day is a new reshuffling every single day. And it can negatively impact your family if you have that fixation on results at all costs mentality. Yes, we all, like, no one has ever said, you know what, I'd love to have a family life like that one billionaire. That guy, whoa, what a great relationship he seems to have with his children. No one's ever said that, because self-made billionaires are, they are not known for having amazing relationships with their families. Actually, except Sarah Blakely actually seems to have a great relationship with her 4 kids. Although it is good to know she made her billions before she started having kids. So that's a little bit different for those of us who are trying to, the kids are already here and we're trying to build it, But I really don't know how people do it without going insane, who think it is all up to them. The thing that will save your sanity and lead you to a better impact and better success than whatever you were dreaming of is to understand that this isn't up to you. You are getting on a plan, and there is a higher power guiding you. See, listen how open-minded I didn't say like the Catholic God, he's the one. There is something greater than you that's guiding you, and that is opening doors, and that is working things out. And if you feel moved to dream of large impact, of success, if you, let's say you're thinking of starting an ice cream shop, but it really, man, it feels right to, like, you want this to be a national chain. You want to have an ice cream shop in, I don't know, Iceland. That would be epic. Sell those people ice cream. Like, that would be a great challenge. If that really feels right, and you've sat with it and you've talked to your family about it, it sounds exciting to them, your spouse thinks it sounds cool, I really believe that maybe you're meant to do that. I mean, that Tom Monahan, the guy who founded Domino's, he talks about this, that he really thinks it was from God that he built Domino's from this one-man shop to what it became. By the way, Tom was an orphan. Like, he was raised in an orphanage. Like, he came from nothing and built Domino's. And he says, like, look, like, I came from nothing. And it really warms my heart to think of how many families had an income thanks to what I built. Like, thanks to what God did through me, I was able to provide all these families with jobs, like people who might not have had an income and a good company to work for that had benefits and, way to make a little bit of extra money. That was really cool to see God, like, impacting all of these families. Like, they had a paycheck now thanks to the fact that I welcomed these big dreams that God gave me. So yes, I think God sometimes does give us big dreams, because a big impact needs to happen in our disaster of a society. If you'd like to do public speaking, there are plenty of people, they just want to speak locally. That sounds right. They're like, I don't want to mess with all that other stuff. I'd love to speak at my church and some local civic groups, and that's what I want. There are other people that say, I don't know, it kind of sounds right to me to speak in front of really big groups. And again, maybe that's your intrusive thoughts or your ego, but if it doesn't go away and you continue to feel love and just positivity when you think about it. And again, the people in your life who are not insane, think if you can find any. Some of us, you got to do some looking to find that. They're like, I see that, actually. I see that. You should go for it. God does mean for some people to have kind of a bigger impact. And like we learned in Proverbs, mo money, mo problems. Is that Proverbs or is that Notorious B.I.G.? I always get them confused. Mo money, mo problems. You know, like, I mean, if you're going for something, if you're trying to start an international franchise, Biggie spoke the truth. I mean, you're going to have, you think Tom Monahan has a lot more problems than someone who just stuck with a mom and pop pizza shop in their local town. And there's nothing wrong with either one. They each had different calls to live at different levels. Again, we'll go into this tempo of life thing in the after party that starts right after this show on Patreon, patreon.com/thisisjen. So unapologetically believe in that vision that you've been given. Don't apologize for it because it's not your vision. Don't say God is embarrassing. Don't say God is wrong. It's like, yeah, God means for me to do this and I'm not going to apologize for it. So that's component one. And then, but component two is to understand, yeah, again, it's not your vision. It's not your vision. And so it might not work out exactly like you wanted. It might not work out exactly that way. But if you have accepted all along that it's not your plan, these are not your ideas, then it won't surprise you and you'll actually be okay with that. When from the beginning, you just get in this routine of saying, I'm just following the roadmap that's in front of me. I think I have an idea of where it's going. I mean, I'm dreaming of that and that's exciting. But honestly, if we end up somewhere else that is equally fulfilling, it might just not be the exact same results. Maybe I wanted to make millions of dollars and I don't end up making millions of dollars, but I have a great impact. I see fruits in other ways. That's great too, because it wasn't your plan. And that will save your sanity every time. Because hit the free theological lesson button. Look, I don't care if you're an atheist. This is just true, okay? This is like talking about laws of physics. You can disagree with me that whether God exists or not, but it's just true. Like, look, God exists, okay? And he is the source of love. When we say what love is, when we say God is love, we're not saying what God is. We are saying what love is. This was the big thing that drew me away from atheism. I was like, that's a good point, actually, that love exists as this objective external thing. It's not just the chemical reactions in your brain, and God is the source of that. Love comes from somewhere, and that is God. So here's why this matters. Any call from God, anything that you are meant to do will always put you on the path of love. And in the end, it will always lead to more love. So let's say you love to do public speaking and you imagine yourself speaking in stadiums and having this impact and changing people's lives. You're going to take the trauma that you have been through and help 20,000 people in a stadium heal from it. And you dream of that. There's nothing wrong with dreaming of that. That's actually a great and beautiful thing, to want to help the maximum number of people. That is a beautiful, wonderful vision. But just don't get attached to that specific vision. So let's say God's given you that vision for a reason, to get you started down a certain path, but maybe that was just to guide you in a certain way. And let's say you end up with a radio show. I used to be on the radio. So maybe you're not speaking exactly in front of stadiums, but you reach all these different people in different ways. Maybe you start a podcast. Maybe you put the podcast on YouTube and you get double the number of views I get. So you're getting 10 people watching each episode and you have that kind of impact. So in the end, maybe you actually will end up speaking, like helping people find love and compassion and beauty and healing in their lives, 20,000 people. I truly believe that could absolutely happen for you if you feel drawn to that vision. Absolutely. But it could also end up that God kind of sent you on that path because that was the best way to get you to this other path that is going to have an equal impact. An equal amount of love will be brought into the world. It might just be through a different delivery method. And that is ultimately the key to the village hustle lifestyle. You realize the end game is love. It's not money. It's not popularity. It's fame. It's not fame. I want to make it very clear to God, I will accept all of that in my career, by the way, because it could be. So I did, hey, Lord, let's not like rule it out either. Like, I don't mind having
Not
fame and money and 30 views on my YouTube. Like, I'd take it. But it's not the end game, and it's not your plan. And when you trust that, that amount of love that I feel moved to share with the world, God will get that out through me one way or another, as long as I learn to just get out of the way. When you accept that is the plan that you're on, then you can take 10 hours to drive to Houston and back and take a nap, and you don't stress about it because you're like, it's not a sacrifice. It's just a reshuffling. Because God is love, God always wants you to choose love. That's actually the main reason I bring up that God is love concept. Because God is love, God always wants you to choose love. And if the loving thing to do is to get the kids down to Houston so that they can go to sailing, God will always bless that. He will multiply that love. What did we learn at the beginning of this How Is It Possibly Free podcast? At the beginning, we learned that love always multiplies. Love does not divide ever. Love always is expansive. It grows exponentially. It's a mushrooming, expansive thing. You add a little bit, you get exponentially more. So when you choose the path of love, there is never a detraction. It's never a sacrifice in the sense of like, now you have less. You will always get more love back. So in my career, I really do like to love people through laughter, through stand-up comedy. Obviously, I have lots of motives in my career. Again, wouldn't mind the comedy millions. Wouldn't mind that at all. But wouldn't mind flying first class. Like, I just want to say, we're not ruling this out. I accept the comedy millions, and they're coming. But my core motivation, I can honestly say my core motivation is I do want to love people by showing them a new way of thinking about things, by showing women especially a new paradigm for living that is love-based, that is community-based, that is family-based. And so love is my motivation through my career. And so when I do things that takes time for my kids out of love, well, again, the love is going to multiply. There will now be more love for me to share with my fans because I did this thing for my kids. And that is why the word sacrifice is just so wrong and dumb. It's a reshuffling that adds more love, both to my family and to my career. Again, I'm telling you guys, look, honestly, this next comedy special that I'm going to put out, and I'm not even promoting it because it's I need God to open this door. Tell God to open the Catholic Ghetto. I have a lot of Catholic Ghetto listeners. Could you please talk to our God and tell him that I need him to open some doors here because I have some really good material and I'm blocked on a couple of things and it's killing me. But what matters is that, guys, this material is really good. It's really good. I think it will make you feel good. I have worked very hard on it. Very, very hard. I have taken soul-crushing feedback that is like really painful. I have bombed in horrific ways and then watched the tape of myself bombing to figure out what happened. Full body video in very unflattering lights, watching me stand in front of a group of like 15 high 25-year-olds, watch the whole tape and just figure out what happened. I've been through it, and I can really say I think my next special and even the one after, like, I think it will really bless you guys. I think you will laugh very hard. And on my tour, I mean, you'll be hearing this material on my fall tour, jfcomedytour.com. I'd play this sound if I could hook up to the Bluetooth, jfcomedytour.com. When you guys see this show, this is essentially what I'm doing in my next special, what you'll see on the fall tour. I think it will really bless you. I think you will laugh very hard. You'll feel less alone. It will get you thinking about interesting ways to think about life. I'm very, very proud of it. And it is better for the reshuffling moments I've had with my family. Again, driving back from Houston, I've already, just today, I made a bunch of improvements to my set from what I learned listening to that classic comedy special, that 10 minutes on repeat, like, oh, yes, in that one section, I could really spice it up if I just used a wild analogy. If I took this kind of boring concept and came up with a totally stupid analogy, that could be really funny. So now I am able to share more love with you because of the love that I shared with my family. Love always, always, always expands. So that is the Village Hustle premise. Dream big, dream bigger, dream big unapologetically. It's the humble thing to do. It will inspire your family. But then remember, this is not your plan. It's God's plan. You will end up sharing the amount of love with the world that you feel meant to share. But the actual distribution method, it might be exactly what you're dreaming of, or it might be a little different. But it doesn't matter because it's not your plan. It's God's plan. And when you remember that, you will be able to relax and drive your kids down to Houston and not feel like it's a sacrifice, like I'm wasting time. You will be able to realize, no, this is great. This is good. It's just a reshuffling. And every reshuffling adds more love both to my family and to the world. All right, go sign up for the Village Hustle level on Patreon. It is brand new. It is brand new, just out today. Patreon.com/thisisjen, Jen with one N. First 50 people get the Village Hustle wristband that Caitlin and I are both wearing. I think I'll include a little note. I'm going to try to do that. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Get in on the Village Hustle level. And even if you're not on that higher level, on the basic level, you still get the after party, which starts right now. I'm going to talk about finding the tempo of life that works for you. Patreon.com/thisisjen. See you there.